Alright, a day later than I expected, the Zhatann gameplay showcase is out. I had to deal with some technical difficulties here. Some technical difficulties. Oh boy, you can tell I'm really in the right mindset for recording right now. I'm going to go ahead and record this. There may not be any substantial information here. After all, this is the third of the gameplay showcases, and it looks like they've showed off most of the Chaos Dwarf features. If we're going to see anything here that I think will be really meaty, it's maybe the third tier of the Tower of Zar and the pillars of the Hellforge that aren't for melee infantry, and each of those could be crazy, so we'll see about those. Plus, it'll be cool to see Zhatann in action. But if there's nothing substantial, I just won't upload this video. So either which way, let's get going, because I want to get going before some kind of other difficulty occurs. I'm just going to start saying that now. I'm going to make that a thing. Difficulty. Could Zhatann take a mount on tabletop? I don't remember if he could. I've got the Chaos Dwarf Army books. I can look it up. I find it weird that the Chaos Dwarfs only have flying now. You can't put them on a horse. I always thought the Lamassu was supposed to be like a mage. Looks kind of weird to see a plain old warrior riding a magical. Zhatann does look good. Still got boring lore, but he looks good. He looks good. Looks nice and colorful. Doing some kind of mating ritual? Huh. Odd.
Well, Zhatann isn't a happy chap, is he? I'm sure I left workers here. As my workers' efficiency is only 80%, I know something's wrong. Under the labour economy panel, I can see all of my settlements and how much labour I have in each. It seems I've run out of labour because new intake wasn't on. My home region of the Blasted Waste is overflowing with eager workforce. Let's do some shuffling around and get Blackwater back up and running.
Oh, it costs money to move labor.
It's always a good idea to come back to this panel often, especially when you've got a big empire. Too many lazing layabout labourers will cause constant control concerns.
Interesting.
So use them, misuse them, spend them on fast building, but make sure you don't have a great excess of them. With that in mind, I'll turn off intake for a few of my more supplied regions. That way, new labour goes where it's needed most. Now, you see, I'm not saying I hate my lesser downkin, but if they were all out of the way, I would certainly hate them less. Just imagine, factories as far as the eye can see, mines in every mountain. Beautiful. Let's take a quick gander at my current empire. Overall, I've gone for a very...
I hate the Realm of Chaos map so bad. Why is it sideways?
mine-heavy infrastructure, meaning I've built way more outposts than factories. And I've only built 2 towers as I didn't want to split my raw material spending too wide. But now I want to start using that raw material and have it turned into armaments. This means building factories. Lots of factories. Our totally not evil plan to build a massive drill is going well. I built the 2nd stage. I do have enough raw material for the 3rd stage, but there's still a few things I want before I build it. Mainly the Temple of Asut.
Hang on, let's go back and look at that tower building, shall we? Alright, we got a landmark, we got military recruitment, special military support, infrastructure, and what is that, garrison?
Few things I want before I build it.
Let's see, this Temple of Hashut is built from raw materials. Increases conclave influence by 10. That seems like a lot, but then again, this is a tier 5 building. Plus 10 diplomatic relations with Chaos Dwarfs. +3 winds of magic in every army. That's actually nuts. Recruit rank +3 for bull centaurs. And +5 conclave influence if you have a certain technology research. It looks like the Chaos Dwarfs get a lot of boosts to their buildings from the technology tree. I am curious that it actually displays it here. I feel like a lot of the older races would benefit from having this kind of UI setup. It's a little bit clearer than some of the things that get right now.
The Temple of Asert. While my workforce keep working their little fingers to the bone, we need to infuse the drill with some magical artifacts.
Okay, this is a Realm of Chaos exclusive mechanic, but I'll still take a look at it, see if it... So yeah, you spread across different directions to gather different... Looks like artifacts of the Ancestor God. That's Valaya. That's definitely Valaya. I'm not sure I quite recognize... That's probably Grungni, I think? Grimnir, I'm not seeing which one is Grimnir. I'm not seeing... Maybe that one. It looks angry. Angriness fits Grimnir. For the other three, though, for them to even acknowledge there being Ancestor Gods other than the big three is kind of rare. So were the other three maybe supposed to be, let's say, Gazul, Thungni, and who was... Morgrim. That would make sense. If you want to have 6 Ancestor Gods, it would make sense for the other three beyond the big three of Grungni, Grimnir, and Valaya. Go with Gazul.
I have one from a roaming dwarf army that strayed a little too close to me. They are now willing workers in my mines. As for the next 3, we have several options. There are 2 types of relic, lesser and major. You can attach any combination of
Okay, so the gold ones are for the major Ancestor Gods, so that's Grimnir, that's Valaya, so none of these are Grungni. And then there's drill bits for lesser Ancestor Gods. Do you have to find them on the map? I'm not certain what
the drill, but you could also use them for your own personal gains. You can see each one has different perks, and if you didn't guess, major relics give you more.
Slow that down a little bit.
See, each one has different perks.
Okay, major Ancestor Relic of Grimnir. The Ancestor God Grimnir long ago ventured north into the Chaos Wastes. That fool was lost, alone, and out of his depth, dropping trinkets as he passed through the cliff. You must search for them amongst the fetid crags and mountain passes. Okay, so we get a little bit of what the Chaos Dwarfs think of each of the Ancestor Gods. That's cool lore. Oh, I see Grungni right there. I missed him. He was at the bottom. Yeah, we got 3 major and 4 minor. Interesting. Okay, corrupted golden bands of Grimnir. The demon's taint, fused with what remains of the death-seeking spirit contained within Grimnir's wristbands, can provide a bountiful power source for the Great Drill. Character experience gain plus 25% for all characters. Ooh, that's strong. Hero and Lord recruit rate plus 5 faction-wide, also really strong. Melee defense plus 5 for Lords and Heroes. Nice.
If you didn't get...
And the demons of the sunken sewers will be prevented from arriving during the final battle. Okay, so these are simultaneously faction-wide buffs, and also they affect the final battle you get as the Chaos Dwarfs from Chaos. Okay, that is... Oh, and there's different benefits between using it for the drill versus claiming it for your own personal horde. Interesting. The part that is interesting here is that this is going to be Realms of Chaos exclusive, but I'm not of the opinion that you need to get all of the toys in Immortal Empires, but there will be probably some people who are upset that this feature won't be in Immortal Empires. Doesn't bug me, though.
Yes, major relics give you more than lesser relics.
I'm more interested in the lore here. Ancestor God Smednir, patron of metalworking and ore refinement, is perhaps the least worthless of the weak Western deities. Yet just as with the others, the fate of his relic is yours to decide. One of his creations sit as an heirloom in the treasure hall of the dwarf's northernmost hold. Carrick Doom. That's kind of odd, but I guess Carrick Doom, I don't know that much about the lore. I actually have just over there the Gotrek and Felix book that I want to say contains a lot of the Carrick Doom lore, but I have not got that far in the book. That's funny to see them talk about Smednir and actually like him. Yeah, that is an insane buff. Armor plus 20 for Chaos Dwarf Infantry, plus 15% weapon strength. That's nuts.
You need to attach 4 to the drill to complete the quest, but you can get them all if you wish. As for me, I don't really fancy a
Gavor, I don't remember that guy. Son of Gazul. There are few more far-fetched tales of the Dowie weaklings than that of the exiled ancestor Scavor, son of Gazul, who it is told molded his flesh and became an enemy of his own people. One artifact associated with him, said to contain as much potential as the other ancestor god relics, is being used as a ceremonial trinket by a wayward horde of Lustria. That's new lore, isn't it? I don't think I've ever heard of this Scavor dude. That sounds interesting, though. An ancestor god that did something evil.
Sea voyage at this time, so Scavor's relic is out. Thungui is quite close and helps.
The ancestor god Thungni left the secret of rune magic to the race. That's always confused me. So I want to say Valaya and Grungnir are heavily associated with it too. So there's like two what was it? Maybe it was just that Valaya only taught the language of runes, did not teach the magic of runes. I want to say Valaya and Grungnir are associated with it too. But yeah, Thungni is definitely the one who is cleanly associated with rune magic and pretty well nothing else. The ancestor god Thungni left the secret of rune magic to the dwarf race. Only he and a few of his undeserving descendants could wield the great power he discovered, which can be tapped into using a runic tablet stored in Karak Azorn's treasure hall. So is Karak Azorn old enough that it goes back to the really ancient days of the Karazhan Corps before the coming of Chaos, when the ancestor gods were still just running around amongst the dwarven people?
By some nasty ogres. I could then push north up to the ancestral relic.
The ancestor god Valaya's powers may have prevented Dwarfkind's annihilations at the high hands of Chaos, but it cannot prevent her secrets from being exploited for her own ends. A long-lost vial of potent salve, said to be brewed by Valaya's own hand, sits unassumingly in the loot pile of a nearby ogre tree. How do you know that? That's funny, but Valaya, I always thought Valaya was interesting lore-wise. I always thought she was underappreciated, because Grimnir and Grungni always get the majority of the lore for the dwarfs, because they sell miniatures. Valaya is not really associated with any miniatures they could sell, because Games Workshop, for whatever reason, was scared or didn't want to do female dwarf miniatures. But Grungni and Grimnir, you can associate Grungni with miners and craftsmen. And Grimnir, you can associate with slayers. But no chick dwarf, not allowed.
Cavalia, getting this one will prevent the
that's probably
from showing up in
I
my
don't know.
final
I don't know what.
As it happens, Zhatann is right by.
Gazul, the ancestor god Gazul, wielded the power of the elemental. Relics hold the key to the devastating forces of the Underer. The desirous undead covens still for far and wide to gain even an iota of that power. Within their boundaries is where. I guess it makes sense that the vampire counts would mess with Gazul. Figure out how to make undead dwarfs.
Castle Drakenhof doing some raiding, so that's an easy win. I could then take a little jaunt to the west to claim the
ancestor god Grungni cravenly led the dwarfs into the earth, only to be forced to return and fight without knowing the true worth of his gift for money. Throngs of the weakling western dwarfs carry a relic attributed to him, passing it from army to army within their mountainous borders. Corrupted helmet of Grungni.
Major ancestor relic of Rundi, meaning I won't have to fight the dwarfs of the Grey Mountains. Yeah, you know what? I think that's the game plan. So it's time to stake my claim on the Vamps and get my second relic. I tell you, who needs a battering ram when you have a skull?
Let's go backward a little bit. I like this Regiment of Renown picture, this work in progress Regiment of Renown picture. That not only is just a straight shot of the dwarf with a fire beard, but there's also a pink square here. It needs to be said, for everybody who seems to be easily confused by these things and go immediately, oh, Crave Assembly so lazy. These are work in progress pictures, guys. I personally wouldn't have spawned that relic, that Regiment of Renown, if I were recording this video, but I understand that the Regiments of Renown are a feature that Crave Assembly quite enjoys, and I'm just not personally a fan of. Also, below to that, stick. We must have seen the unit card for the Skullcracker before, but I don't remember that one. It looks sick.
I tell you, who needs a battering ram when you have a Skullcracker?
Even if you have a Skullcracker, you don't need a battering ram. Battering rams suck. Whenever Total Warhammer is done as a trilogy, I would love to get an interview with a creative assembly developer, and I would have loads of just perfectly nice questions. One of the questions I would have to ask at some point was, you guys knew that battering ram sucked, right? What was... Just kept going. I wouldn't use the Skullcracker for that, though. It'd take too much missile fire from the towers. Then again, everything takes too much missile fire from the towers, so what can you do? 8 towers.
Zhatann loves getting his axe messy, so he will charge headlong into the defenders on the wall, while Pitek will cause as much damage as possible.
Zhatann, like, Dwarf Lords are pretty beefy, but they're really slow. Putting a Dwarf Lord on a flying mount so he can actually get some speed on him, Zhatann could be pretty mean, I feel, especially in sieges.
All centaurs, Infernal Iron Sworn, use the breach in the wall, which I have for completing the first military tier to the Tower of Zar. They will start capping points in causing just general mayhem. Time to move my army up, ready for when the Skullcracker breaks down the gate. That was fast. In you go, lads.
Running ahead. I think the Skullcracker looks like one of those fun units, really. What are those Iron Sworn? Are those Iron Sworn throwing... Oh, the Iron Sworn have Naphtha bombs. They have Naphtha bombs. That's really cool. I was curious what they would do with the Iron Sworn to really set them apart from the rest of the Infernal Guard, because just having them be better statistically is boring. But Naphtha bombs is a really cool... Yeah, the Skullcracker's more of a win than expected. I always thought it looked kind of derpy on the tabletop, but it looks great in Total War.
The rest is simple. Flood the city with troops, capture the points, wipe out any form of resistance, and it's game over for the Vamps.
Interesting, Zhatann's army scheme is colored black instead of red. So used to seeing red Chaos Dwarf, it's not surprised to see some different colors.
To get the relic, we need to occupy the settlement. Now, I'm gonna turn it into a factory, but I have always wondered, how good are zombies at mining? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Factory, definitely the right choice. I'll take the relic and turn all of Sylvania from a vampiric hellscape to an industrial hellscape. I may as well upgrade it to a level 3 factory while we're here.
It was always a little bit odd in Warhammer 2 when they'd show off the new DLCs and they'd show off them off in the Vortex map. It was, it was very understandable because, okay, well, they get an extra campaign mechanic on the Vortex map because the Vortex map you don't really win with a domination victory. You can, but it's not really the thing they encourage you to do. You win with some kind of other campaign victory. Gathering the Books of Nagash or what have you. I don't even remember. Vampire Coast, yeah, it was Aminar. Capturing Aminar, something like that. However, while there's still the same motive to do it in Warhammer 3, it just feels so odd for them to show it like... The Vortex map still made sense. And the Vortex map had a lot of stuff that was cool about it. And the Vortex map, you could still go back and play in Warhammer 2 without really feeling like you were hobbling yourself. Though the Mortal Empires map was generally the one you were more inclined to play. With Warhammer 3, there is such a vast difference in quality between the Realm of Chaos map and the Immortal Empires map. Where the Realm of Chaos map is this, not only just an odd picture of the Warhammer world, but it's like so misshapen. And like the Empire in particular, when you look at what Marienburg and Reichland and Wissenland look like, where they are just this thin noodle strip going alongside the River Reich, or just how Cathay is sideways. Like, it just feels so goofy to see them play Realm of Chaos in these gameplay showcases, and there is no chance I am going to touch Realm of Chaos ever again. So it's just really funny for me to see that. Like, just blatantly looking at, like, okay, I can recognize, that's Castle Drakenhof. It'll look similar to that in Immortal Empires, but boy, are there some big differences here.
Yeah, don't think I don't see you there, Wagner. Karakadin would be an easy target for him, and as it's one of my few high-level factories, I don't really want to lose it, but I have a little trick I can utilise as the Chaos Dwarfs. All I need is money, labour, and a lack of conscience. I will build the guardhouse, then with my excess workforce I will instantly build it, rinse and repeat. Now that should stand against Pointy Tooth and his merry band of brainless followers.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me. That you can, if you're willing to spend the laborers, that you can instantly jump a building up to whatever tier your city is already at. Oh. Ooh, instant garrisons. Instant garrisons. Oh boy. Yeah, that's gonna be beefy, yeah.
Second Lord Zul has been gleefully burning the Eastern Blast, providing us with a ton of labour and raw materials.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that the Chaos Dwarf campaign in Realm of Chaos, you don't need to worry about Chaos Portals appearing. Because if he does have to worry about Chaos Portals, this guy is stretching himself way too thin. That was such an awkward thing about the Realm of Chaos campaign. How much of it was built on, you need to build the smallest, tallest empire you can. Because you just simply aren't going to be able to handle the sheer amount of demonic armies and hell portals you're going to be seeing. This is a nice army here. I like this. I like the Hobgoblins. The Hobgoblins, I think, are going to be a really fun unit. Interesting they went with allied recruitment for these Hobgoblins, though. I guess he just wanted the...
I may move him south to help Zhatann, but for now, he can continue to sack settlements and bring in more labour. They're not the strongest army, but the look on their little faces they burn settlements to the ground really warms the heart. And
so-called Lord of Under-Earth holds no power in the Darkland. Brazier of Gazul holds energy, however. That much cannot be denied. Bound to demonic powers and channeled into the Great Drill, progress towards the Dark God's fiery realm will surely increase tenfold, bringing you ever closer to the blood of Hashut. Interesting. So are we going to get to see Hashut's realm in the final battle? Because that will probably be a cool map for custom battles and multiplayer battles as well.
finally, I can introduce our newest army, commanded by the one, the only,
Zhatann Bullbreaker. There we go. It's not that hard. Okay, so it's the Sorcerer Prophets that have the fire pistols. I think I had heard somebody say that, but I wasn't for sure. Okay, I thought it was just going to be the Overlords that had that, but no. That's interesting. That does set Chaos Dwarf Wizards apart even further from regular. Also, big great axe in one hand, but it's not armor-piercing melee. That's It bugs me when they go for the I don't know how to pronounce this joke, but then their attempt at pronouncing it use letters that aren't there. Because, like, no one's actually that dumb. It's funnier to get it closer to the actual thing, but, mess it up. I don't know. Maybe I'm picking apart these just half-hearted attempts at comedy too much. Look at that legendary item selection. Oh, boy. That's might want to do some fusing there, pal.
I'm not doing that.
A lot of armor.
Mr. Wallbreaker will do. He will be marching north to claim the relics held by the ogres. Off you go on your merry way. And with that, we can
Chaos Dwarf armies look so cool.
Looks like Wagner wasn't
Nice
quite
art.
put off by our garrison. Thankfully, we put ourselves in a position where if we sally out and meet him, we should be able to take him on.
20% army
Good
replenishment.
timing too, is it looks like Manfred was on his way to lend a bit of backup.
Oh man,
all the work.
that's the stuff I hate to see the AI doing. When I take their big settlement and they just pile all their armies onto one of my minor settlements. I just have to play whack-a-mole for a good long while unless I use the ambush stance. That's stuff that's annoying. That's the stuff that hurts my soul.
In my mind that they will move on Castle Dragon.
Hold up just a second, I just noticed something. The Hellforge icon on the right here, I've just noticed now that it's got a tiny little rune of Hashut on it. They've gone with that old school rune of Hashut. I believe that's the old school rune of Hashut. I want to say they came up with a new rune of Hashut for Tamarcon. I could be wrong. I want to say that's the old school rune of Hashut, which looks super blatantly like it's a modification of the which kind of ties into the idea people have that Hashut may just be a bloodthirster that was rebellious against Khorne, which could be, yeah, really interesting.
The instant I move on. I'll move Zhatann off using the underways to prevent attrition, build a guard.
I always thought that was funny that the Empire are supposed to be the guys who fight the vampire counts most of the time, but the dwarves having access to the underway stance means that they probably are the best at dealing with vampire count attrition. It's a little bit odd.
House and see what they do. I'll use the same trick as before and move some labour around. I'll need about 600 labour to get to tier 2, and if the vampires do decide to attack, that should give me a good chance at holding the city.
Good God. Good God almighty.
Zul, make your way towards Prague. We should hopefully find lots of willing workers there. Mr. Ballbreaker, head towards the Mountains of Morn.
Do you call him Ballbreaker?
I can now build the Temple of Asut. Ooh,
That does
10
look
turns is
satisfying.
A long time. I may spend some labour to quicken that up, but not this turn. Zhatann takes the tower with a decisive.
Does the cost go down every turn? The cost to rush it go down every turn? That could be interesting right there. That kind of setup of how much time do I need versus how much labor do I want. Nice army ability. And even Creative Assembly forgets to put their banners on.
Victory giving me another factory. Ballbreaker will enter the mountains in Zul. Prague is on the horizon. Right, yeah, here we go. We've been attacked by Ostland. Valiant defeat. Oh, come on. Well, you win some, you lose some. Zhatann, back you go.
He's not replenishing his
Well, that's
armies there at all.
disappointing. A much easier fight than I hoped for. Let's just also.
He is, of course, aware that the auto-resolve hates units.
Should I turn Prague into a factory? Yes. Yes, I should. More factory means more armaments. And high
Treaty of
quotas will
Asher.
work really nicely here. More factory.
Treaty of Asher. Now that's an interesting faction name. Is that supposed to be like a Cathay Chaos Dwarf hybrid rogue army? Because that's actually interesting for lore implications.
Means more armaments. And high quotas will work.
That also raises the question of the Tower of Asher itself, because the Tower of Asher, I believe, is not present on the Immortal Empire's map. Even though it's one of the few Cathay settlements we've known about for a decade now. And is actually pretty important to the Cathay Chaos Dwarf relations, because Tower of Asher, I believe, is what's keeping the Chaos Dwarfs out of Cathay.
Here. Ballbreaker keeps going north, crossing into Ogre territory. And I think I'll start on the drill now, as it may take several turns. I will also turn intake back on for the Blasted Wastes, and quickly build the temple. It puts my overall efficiency down a little, but it's easily sorted. We can send out a convoy to get some more labourers. It's like
trade.
playing whack-a-mole. Having taken Zhatann out of the
Trade with Norska for slaves. Hang on. What was that? Okay, so the trade points here. There's a trade point in the Bay of Blades. That's Volfjord. That's Norska. From the Zint, that should be Greenskins. Those all make sense to trade with. Though it is funny when Grungzint is taken over by Bretonnia. Trade with the Chaos Dwarfs to trade with them. And again, I guess humans in Warhammer get confused about the Chaos Dwarfs and think they're regular dwarfs. I guess that could be it.
It's like playing whack-a-mole. Having taken Zhatann out of the tower, the Vamps has now taken that too. I think the Empire and Vampire Counts have this strange alliance going on that I don't know about. Ah, they only sacked it. Let's go ahead and take back Castle Drakenhof, and then time to clear out this area.
Really great, these periods where you just end up raiding back and forth one city, so you just keep lowering the tier of it.
Zul, you can head south via Kislev and attack the Drakenhof Conclave from the north. Mr. Ballbreaker, kill those ogres and get our third relic. Let's do some quick mopping up. DJ, give me some music.
I find it interesting that the Lamassu have, like, eagle front paws. Like, I was kind of... I thought... I've not seen the Lamassu miniature on the tabletop in a while. I thought it had, like, lion paws, not eagle. Those Firebeard Dwarf Warriors do look cool. Oh, nice, a sync kill. Okay, so the standard overseers just get the classic melee action. Okay. Oh, frame rate. Even Creative Assembly's own computers have issues with some maps, with the weather-heavy maps. It's crazy. They gotta tone down. They gotta, like, deal with some of this stuff, man. I don't know. I'm not an expert on these things, but I don't know. Could they just tone it down a little bit, please? It's annoying that I have to set the graphics so low just for the campaign map. Anytime I play near Kislev or Norska or the Chaos Wastes, my frames just drop massively. Just make the effects less pretty, please. Or at least give more of an option to turn it down. That map looked nice. I like a lot of the new Badlands and Darklands maps they make for the game. They look really nice. You know, they could clear out the Drakenhof Conclave a lot quicker if they had used all three of their Chaos Dwarf armies in one place rather than splitting their forces. But Creative Assembly, the idea Creative Assembly usually has for ideal Total War gameplay is to have one particular army that you load with really strong units and really strong skills, and try and take on multiple armies with that one army. And the late game is just, you have three big armies that are all doing that. And for my part, I've always been in favor of concentrate all of my military forces on wiping out one foe at a time. So sometimes that can cause issues. The differences in my philosophy versus Assembly. Helps that I have the tabletop caps mod on, because I hate Doomsday.
Well, that was an ordeal. We won, we lost, we loved, we stabbed vampires through their hearts. Several turns later, I have secured Sylvania and crippled Ostland. Mr. Ballbreak has been killing ogres, but he has taken a bit of a beating of his own. Time to pull him back and regroup.
So is that how we can see with the Hellforge how many armaments are being spent per turn on a given unit? Because that looks like a massive armament cost, but they're still producing a lot of it. This guy's got quite the armament economy going. For it to be saying, okay, I'm going to imagine it's not 22 armaments per turn on each Chaos Dwarf Warrior, because that would just be insane. And that may not be too crazy, actually. So that'll be curious to see how that works. I would love to see the Hellforge for the missile infantry and the monsters. But they're probably holding back on that until the YouTubers get their hands on it. Because right now we are just seeing the Hellforge for the Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Which looked crazy, don't get me wrong, but I'm curious to see just how nuts it gets for the other unit types as well.
Now Zhatann and Zul have pacified this area, Zhatann can march south to claim the major ancestor relic of Grundy, and Zul can head over and continue claiming Ostland. And when Mr. Ballbreaker is back up to full strength, he can start raiding Ogrelands again. Before we jump into this battle, let's take our army from a 10 to an 11. The reason why I wanted to pump out so many armaments is so I can give my troops...
Okay, hang on. Hold on just a second, this is what I wanted to see.
Why I wanted to pump out so many armaments is
Hang
so I can give my troops...
Oh, hang on, I'm going to put that in slow-mo. They're muted as well, because the slow-mo audio is a pain. Okay, now let's... Okay, we got all these unit caps here. We got the melee guys. We've seen this before. Already got fizz resist, and... Okay, it was 22 armaments per 3 units. That's crazy. Yeah, you definitely want to throw all this on. Okay, let's see. For missile infantry, so just for Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses and for Infernal Guard fireglaves, you can get reload reduction, 10%, suppressive fire. Don't blunderbusses already come with suppressive fire on? I could be wrong about that. I might have, the footage I saw earlier, that I want to say that was the Astrogoth trailer, I wanted to say, where they showed the blunderbusses having suppressive fire. But still, putting on the fireglaves ain't bad either, if it is just an extra reload. We don't know what that does yet. That's a new ability. Stalk, that's pretty strong to put on a missile unit. Very good for flanking with your missile units, especially with blunderbusses. Spell resist, 25%, not too crazy. Vanguard deploy, that's not bad. Extra powder, so the initial shots do more damage, and magic attacks. So the question is, when it says enables magical attacks, does it enable magical ranged attacks, or does it enable magical melee attacks? Because that would be considerably lamer. Go ahead and bring time back to normal.
Troops the most amount of buffs possible. The more...
Okay, extra reload. If ammunition is below 80%, it replenishes ammunition. It only happens once, but it's just an extra load of ammo. Okay.
The more buffs I give, the greater my armament upkeep will be. And this is multiplied by the amount of that certain unit I have across all my armies.
Okay, we've got ones on the Bull Centaur here. Devastating Flanker. They changed the Devastating Flanker icon. Thank God. It's not just a Slaneshi Scorpion Tail anymore. That did look so goofy when we got it on units. Murderous Charge? I'm going to assume that's Ogre Charge. No, that is considerably more. That is... They still are not going to get their charge bonus off on charge defense units, but that is when they are in charge. When they are charging, they get 50% mass plus 40% charge bonus. That is impressive. Sheesh.
Now you can see why I...
Vanguard deploy, not bad on cavalry. Strength from flesh, that's health regen while in combat. Hellforge, that's a new thing. Barrier, certainly not bad. That's great on cavalry. And Causes Terror, also pretty good.
A very healthy armament production.
And Blood Greed, which is increased strength when in combat. I forget what it works like that for the minute.
And with that, my troops are buffed up and ready to go.
That looks pretty crazy for every unit involved. Here's what the artillery pillar
look
looks
too
like.
difficult, but you know there'll be reinforcements. Dowie folk do like their catapults and other things that go boom. I'm gonna try a wide checkerboard formation with the Bull Centaurs on the flank. Zhatann, Pittock, you know what to do.
I think the fact that I don't play rush battles because I get sick of being deliberately put against a much larger army than my own, and the second and third armies usually flank, I think is generally just a good showing of how I can be a real coward when it comes to these games.
As soon as I can.
It helps though that most of my time playing Total War though I didn't bother investing in the red part of the skill tree, which I think if you played Total War before and you're listening right now, you probably just face palmed or something like that, saying like, of course you did bad against multiple armies if you never put in the red tree. I know. It was less so out of not knowing and more so out of stubbornness. But by now I've conceded and I invest in that. Ooh, those Infernal Guard took a lot of damage. Are Infernal Guard unbreakable? Hang on. Miners, yeah, I know those stats. Infernal Guard are not unbreakable, though with 100 leadership, yeah, that is unbreakable, actually. So, yeah, it's technically they apparently don't have the unbreakable ability, but with that high of leadership, it doesn't matter. Yeah, okay, they got all these abilities. They got the suppressive fire bonus. Anti-large? That doesn't look like that's an upgrade they took. I wonder if all fireglaves are anti-large. go back and look at that Infernal Iron Swarm second that we got. I didn't do so much of the dissecting for stats last time, but I will this time. Get tired if I did. Oh, I missed it. Oh, that's annoying. And gonna need some quick reflexes here. There we go. Infernal Iron Swarm. Yep, they get naphtha bombs. Okay. Plus, immunity to contact effects. That's a purchase thing. Hellforge. That expert charge defense or charge defense versus large? I'm going to guess charge defense versus. These guys aren't quite iron. 26 speed, 55 melee attack, 82 melee defense. Yeah, there's some buffs going on there. That's not natural. I don't believe Crev Assembly would just include a unit with 80 melee defense by default. So, okay, it's not really good to look at the stats here. Speed back up and...
And there we go. Pituk took a little beating, but not too bad. And with that, my collection of relics is done. We have reached our goal. Now, we have our final battle. But you may notice, I have a 5th relic. I secretly sent Mr. Ballbreaker up to the ancestral relic of Valia. As Zhatann likes being in the fight, I thought I'd give him a shiny new ability to help him put those Dowie in their place. All that's left now is to jump into this final battle.
This can't be what the Realm of Pasha looks like. Okay, so we're probably not going to get to see the Realm of Pasha. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I can't blame Crib simply for not wanting to take the leap on that, because I don't know if they've ever even implied that Pasha has his own. Oops, okay, we'll talk. Maybe he gets a part of Corrin's Realm, I want to say, maybe, when they released that Chaos Realm map. Go the slave over there. It's an iron gun, okay. I thought I'd heard that they were making a unique slave ogre mod. Yeah, that could be work in progress. I don't know. Doesn't really bother me either which way. I like that the little Masus have that oddly human face, which makes them. Oh, that's a cool survival map. I like that. Very cool, very cinematic animation. Putting a lot of effort into this little bit of a trailer that's attached to otherwise a kind of silly narrated gameplay video. Why did the little Masu leave, like, wall marks in the air like it's Devil May Cry? That's kind of fun. His mustache growing out of his nose. Alright, there we go. That's the extent of that video. That is the last of the gameplay showcases. I imagine that from here on out, a lot of it is going to be up to YouTubers, content creators, whatever you want to call, that get to play out the game in the last 2 weeks. And I've got 2 notifications on Discord. Hopefully that's not the game. It's probably going to be the YouTubers that handle the majority of the big videos and news drops that handle for the last 2 weeks. That's the extent of the videos I'm going to do. I'm not going to watch somebody else's YouTube video like that and talk about that. However, I almost certainly will do some Chaos Dwarf stuff myself on release day. Ready for that. Now, this blog they had for Zhatann that came out the day before today has not too much meaty information, but it has some stuff to talk about, so I wanted to hit it real quick. They do talk a little bit about Zhatann, what little lore he has, that he's the servant of Gorth the Cruel. Oh, I just now noticed that his beard has that weird coil style going on. That's neat. That's different. I like that. That's cool. But yeah, the design, they made him very visually distinctive and cool, which is good because Zhatann on the tabletop was just the most boring dude. So at the very least, they can make him visually interesting. He has 3 legendary items, which, yeah, the Chaos Rune Shield, that's a unique. There definitely shouldn't be 8 million of those. But the thing that surprised me was they did say right here find it just... The Dreadquake mortar can be used as an independent artillery piece. It can also be towed into battle by both the Iron Demon and Skullcracker locomotives. That explains why, when we saw the first gameplay showcase and they showed the military building tree for the Chaos Dwarfs, there were 3 Dreadquake mortars. That does make sense. The thing that is a surprise is that the Dreadquake mortar is the only one that can be drawn by trains. To be honest, I'm more surprised that the trains can draw any artillery pieces whatsoever. I was kind of expecting that wouldn't happen because I figured it'd look kind of goofy in the Total War system of doing things. But that is a pleasant surprise. Some people may be confused why the Hell Cannon, the Death Shrieker, and the Flame Cannon cannot be drawn by a train the same way that the Dreadquake mortar can. And my guess is that the Dreadquake mortar fires in a parabolic arc, so it can fire right over the train engine if the train engine is in front, while the Flame Cannon and Death Shrieker mortar are both probably going to be more line-of-sight artillery weapons, and the train engine would block the sight. And I don't imagine Creative Assembly wanted to go through whatever coding troubles they would have to if they wanted to make the the siege train shoot out of its rear instead. Would it have been cooler to have a dynamic system of units attaching to each other? Yes, but would that have also required probably for them to make a whole unique code just for that would have taken up a lot of the actual coders' time? Also, probably yes. So I'm understanding what happened here. The Dreadquake mortar and train linking mechanic, the thing that exists in the game right now, is almost certainly just a reuse of the chariot system already in place. So it's smarter to just... It can keep people satisfied, even if you can't go with everything. And the other thing, convoys, that's not any new information. We do get a nice little look at the Dwarf Warriors. They look close. So, the Dwarf Warriors on tabletop, back in 4th edition or whatever it was, when the Chaos Dwarfs got their army book, I always was confused a little bit about how they were going to work it in Creative Assembly and Total War, how they would work it. Because the Dwarf Warriors and the Chaos Dwarf Warriors on tabletop looked really similar to me. And they've kind of split them apart, not just with the unique weapon designs, but I think they've done a good job of separating them. While the visual silhouette of the Chaos Dwarf Warriors and the standard Dwarf Warriors is similar, barring the hat, of course, you can see where the Dwarf Warriors had that more kind of chainmail setup with their armor. While the Chaos Dwarfs have this, I don't know, I'm not an armor expert, so I could be using the wrong word here, kind of iron scale instead. I think that they've done a good job of separating. And then there's this particular. Got another showcase on, yeah, that's the Zhatann Showcase, which came out the next day. We'll be back next week with yet more announcements. That's probably more about Ulrika, maybe some of the content of the updates. I don't know what we'll see there. The thing I have been wondering is, are we going to see any kind of updates for some of the older races? Because it does seem natural to give some updates to the mainline dwarfs when the Chaos Dwarfs arrive with them. At the same time, the dwarfs aren't really in that bad of a place. The update they got at the end of Warhammer 2 was generally pretty good. It brought them up to snuff in a lot of ways. The Runic Forge and all that. And the rebalancing of the Book of Grudges. I thought that was all very good and made the dwarfs feel a lot more fleshed out and on level with the late Warhammer 3 factions. They could probably use a little bit more, but they can wait, comparative to, let's say, Norska, who can, in some ways, feel pretty bare bones, or the Vampire Counts. Vampire Counts, the Empire, both were really early overhauls in Warhammer 2, and I think both of them could stand to have some meatier, more interesting content, especially for the Empire, because the Empire is still going to be the most popular race, just by nature of it's the bog standard mainline race, it's the quote-unquote main heroes of the setting, so they're going to be the most played. Usually in Street Fighter, Ryu is the most popular character, or Ken. So, the Empire right now is an awkward place because they have so thin of gameplay mechanics. The Elector Count mechanic isn't really that interesting. It's cool to have it. It's better to have it than to not have it, because it used to be that the Elector Count politics weren't a thing at all, and it felt very goofy playing the Empire, because you run around killing all the other Elector counts and stealing their land. So I'm glad that system is there. At the same time, it's not super exciting. It doesn't feel super rewarding either. And the Empire doesn't really have any interesting economics, and now the Empire is surrounded on all sides by very serious foes, and the Elector count mechanic gets very, very troublesome very, very quickly now in Warhammer 3, since they added Festus the Leech Lord, and they beefed up a lot of the other threats that the Empire faces. Now it's pretty common when you play Karl Franz to just watch in horror as almost all the Elector counts die in the first turns. If you have Mixu's Legendary Lords mod on, that does actually beef them up a little bit. It takes Hawkland a good 30 turns longer to die with Aldebaran Ludenov charge than it does without. So there is that. But other than that, still, even with Mixer's Legendary Lords, you have to really rush if you don't want to just lose loads of Imperial authority from watching all the Elector counties get wiped out. So the Empire could stand to have a little bit of buff there. I think they could stand to have some more gameplay mechanics to make them interesting. But they could also just stand to perhaps have a little bit more of a, I don't want the Empire to get easy. It's ridiculous for the Empire to be easy, because they're at the center of a lot of struggles in the Warhammer world. But at the same time, there should maybe be a bit more of a cushion for new players, because there will be a lot of new players going with Karl Franz first. If they don't go with Katarine first, which would also be a huge mistake. It's a good thing that they recommend Zhao Ming right now. Zhao Ming is definitely the cushiest campaign in Immortal Empires. So with how aggressive the AI is right now in campaign, there aren't really any campaigns I would say are easy, quite like there were in 2. Either which way, yeah, like I said, the Empire could really stand to have some updates. Vampire counts, I think, could stand to have a more interesting mechanic. Right now, the Bloodlines mechanic, it can be interesting to choose which Bloodline you want to go down first, but there's usually just one. Not so bad as Warhammer 2, where Warhammer 2 you explicitly went down the Lamian path first, because it was the best. But it's still just kind of a mechanic of just get a basic reward from winning. I'm also not a fan of the greenskin wall mechanic, but I think there are a lot of people who are a fan of that just because it makes the game so easy to get it going. And yeah, there's the patch notes for Update 3. I will talk about that when it comes out, assuming it's beefy. The last time they released a set of patch notes, it was actually really thin and nothing, and I don't think I uploaded that. If I did upload that, I shouldn't have uploaded it because there's talk about. And a maddening surprise or two. So that is almost certainly going to be the laboratory game. They've already shown off the trailer for the Mirror of Madness, but they didn't actually show off what's in it. Presumably it will be some kind of tie-in with NVIDIA or AMD or whoever they're making deals with. It will be just a way of showing off the tech of the new graphics cards. I'm definitely cool to see that. Laboratory was a fun toy to play with in Warhammer 2. It didn't have meat to it, but it was a fun toy to pop in every now and then if you wanted to have an extraordinarily tall Karl Franz fighting millions of Skaven and watch your graphics card or processor die because the mode was built for processors and graphics cards that don't exist yet. Then again, Warhammer 3, like I said, some parts of the Warhammer 3 campaign map are built for graphics cards that don't exist yet, so... Or graphics cards that do exist, but you gotta kill somebody to get your hands on, or personally travel to China and rip one out of the hands of some laborer. Alright, still, the Chaos Dwarfs, I'm extraordinarily hyped for these. I've got a lot of big stuff I'm excited for in the coming days and the coming weeks. So, my attentions are split several different ways, but the Chaos Dwarfs are going to be, it looks like they're going to be awesome. And possibly terrifyingly OP in the hands of the player. Hopefully the AI doesn't exploit the Hellforge. I don't know, the Hellforge could be balanced by the big armament costs. That did look like that was a balancing factor, and I appreciate that. Tower of Zar, on the other hand, has looked, every time we've taken a look at it, has looked like that's just going to flatly be really strong for the Chaos Dwarfs. The Chaos Dwarfs are going to be a tremendous example of snowballing, especially once you get to the top tier and you confederate the other Chaos Dwarfs. Get all the tower receipts yourself. That's going to be, I'm really hyped up for it. The Chaos Dwarfs look like they're going to be extremely cool. And I suppose that's the extent of what I wanted to say. I'm excited to see the coming weeks of information. I'm excited to see the patch notes. Curious what they add alongside the Chaos Dwarf. Because it has been a long time away. I'm wondering, what have they worked on that much? I'll still be happy with whatever I'll be happy with whatever they've already shown. So anything else they add is extra icing. But after such a long time away from the game, I do wonder what Crib Assembly has got stored up in this update. So, that said, I will go ahead and see you folks later. Yeah.